After a strong start to the summer market in the month of June, we were watching closely to see what would happen to sales in July. And unfortunately, sales fell short of expectations. July sales were down 10% relative to this time last year, and they were down almost 14% relative to June. So what's happening in our market and what are the dynamics at play? I'm Adina, and today I'm joined by
Judy Lamb at Adina YVR Vancouver Real Estate Group at Oakland Realty with your August 2026 market update.
Let's jump right into the numbers and take a look at what's happening. In the month of July, we had 2,061 home sales registered on the MLS in Metro Vancouver. This is a decrease of 14% relative to June. It's down 10% relative to this time last year, and it's 19% below the 10-year sales average for the month of July. Looking at this by property type, we see that for detached homes, we had 639 sales, and this is a decrease of 3% relative to July last year. For attached townhomes and duplexes, we had 454 sales, and this is a decrease of just 1% relative to this time last year. But for apartment condos, we saw a bigger decrease. We had only 952 home sales, and this is down 18% relative to July last year. This is a contrast to what we saw in June, where sales increased broadly across property types, and showing us that maybe our market's not quite on the rebound and it's still trying to find its even footing.
On the supply side, we saw that sellers were also less active. We saw that there were under 5,000 newly listed homes on the MLS in Metro Vancouver. This is a 16% decline relative to June and a 11% decline relative to this time last year, and we're on par with the 10-year average.
So how is this expected to impact pricing? As you recall, our leading indicator showing us if prices are on the way up or down is our sales to active listings ratio. And simply we're looking at the number of sales in a given month divided by the active listings left over at the end of that month. This ratio tells us if we're in seller's market territory, which would be 21% and above, or buyer's market territory when we're 12% and below, or if we're in balanced market territory, which is 12 to 20%. Back in June, our sales to active listings ratio had inched up from 13% to 14.5%, indicating we were in balanced market territory, but we were seeing upward momentum. And in July, we lost that momentum and came back down to 13%. So what this shows us is our market is still in balanced market territory, yet that momentum hasn't continued. So what happens with prices is going to be very dependent on what happens in the next few months. If we remain in balanced market territory, prices should stabilize. But if we continue down the downward momentum, we may be entering back into buyer's market territory. Looking at this by property type, we see that for detached homes, the ratio dropped from 12% in June to 10.5% in July, and this is on par with where we were in May. For attached townhomes and duplexes, the ratio also dropped from 17.8% in June to 15.8% in July, and again, this is very close to where we were in May. And for condo apartments, similar trend. We dropped from 15.5% in June down to 14% in July, and back on par with where we were seeing in May.
So what exactly are we seeing with prices? The HPI composite benchmark price for all property types in Metro Vancouver was $1,088,800. That's a 1% decrease relative to June and a 6% decrease relative to July last year. For detached home, the benchmark price was $1,822,900. This represents a 1% decrease relative to June and a 7% decrease relative to this time last year. For townhomes and duplexes, the benchmark price was $1,030,400. That's a 1.5% decrease relative to June. This is a 6% decrease relative to July last year. And for condo apartments, the benchmark price was $688,000. This is a decrease of 1% relative to June and a 7.5% decrease relative to this time last year.
With the variances and fluctuations we're seeing across property types and across different neighborhoods and submarkets, it's critical to have the right strategy right now, whether you're buying or selling. If you're thinking of making a move this year, now is the right time to sit down and figure out a strategy to get ahead of the fall market. If you'd like to schedule a consultation with our team, you can do so by visiting our website or clicking the link below here on YouTube or the link in our bio on Instagram.
And to stay up to date with what's happening in the market, be sure to subscribe with us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. Have a great rest of your summer, and we'll see you in September.